Luffy just got skewered by Imu's life-draining sword, and everyone thought it was over. But then he stepped out of the shadows. Skipper Gaban didn't just save Luffy. He pulled the weapon right out of his chest and cut down the tree. Is this the end of the Pirate King's left hand? To understand why this moment is historic, we have to look back at how Eiichiro Oda has handled Roger's crew. Rayleigh got his spotlight at Sabaody Archipelago, stepping in to block Admiral Kizaru and buy time for the next generation. It was an iconic moment that proved Rayleigh still possessed monster-tier strength. But fans have always debated who was truly stronger between Roger's right and left hands. Rayleigh was the Dark King, but Gaban carried the physical weight and parallel balance next to him. When Gaban reappeared, fans expected a cool nod, a cameo, or maybe a brief clash with a marine heavy hitter. Instead, Oda skipped the minor leagues entirely and threw Gaban straight into the fire against the world government's literal shadow god. Let's talk about the feat itself, because with all due respect to Silver's Rayleigh, what Gaban just did eclipses Sabaody entirely. Fighting an admiral is an incredible benchmark. Rayleigh held off Kizaru, but Kizaru is a high-ranking asset of a worldly system. Imu, on the other hand, is a celestial anomaly. When Luffy was pinned and pierced by Imu's terrifying life-draining blade, it looked like a fatal checkmate. But Gaban intercepted the aftermath, violently ripped that cursed sword out of Luffy's chest, and slashed down the execution tree in a single movement. Doing that right in front of Imu demonstrates a level of mastery over haki and spatial awareness that we haven't seen from any living legend. He isn't just matching a powerhouse. He's defying the entity sitting at the absolute apex of the world's 800-year tyranny, which brings us to the core theory of today's video. Is this the end of the left hand? In shonen storytelling, when a legendary mentor or veteran from a previous era steps out of isolation to face the ultimate evil, it rarely ends in a peaceful retirement. Think about Whitebeard at Marineford, or Rayleigh acknowledging his own aging limits against Blackbeard. Gaban stepping up to pull Luffy from the jaws of death isn't just a display of strength. It carries heavy narrative flags. Theory 1. The torch must be extinguished. Some theorists argue that just as Roger's crew had to clear the path for the future, the remaining old legends must spend their final reserves to shield the new generation from absolute erasure. By handling a weapon tied to Imu's dark power, Gaban is stepping directly into a death zone. Theory 2. The left hand's final lesson to Sanji. Think about the structural parallel. Zoro is the right-hand swordsman connected to Rayleigh's legacy, while Sanji is the left-hand strategist and powerhouse whose epithet and fighting style parallel Gaban's dual-wielding and tactical brilliance. Could Gaban's clash with Imu be a narrative sacrifice designed to showcase the terrifying ceiling of what a left hand must face when the final war arrives? If Gaban falls or is critically depleted here, it signals to Sanji and the rest of the Straw Hats that the final battle against the world government will demand absolute sacrifice. The final saga of One Piece is no longer playing by the old rules. The shadows are clearing, and the legends of the past are cashing in their final chips to save Luffy's future. But I want to hand it over to you. Do you think Gaban pulling Luffy out of Imu's trap places him above Rayleigh in terms of sheer peak feats? And do you think Gaban will survive this encounter? Or are we watching the final days of the Pirate King's left hand? Drop your deep dive theories in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you want to stay ahead of all the latest manga lore, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay legendary.